So we're going to be running these two pedals in parallel using the LS-2 Line Selector by BOSS. This thing is like a secret weapon as far as like utility tools, you know? You could do a lot with this thing. So yeah, we have the Op Amp Big Muff by Electro-Harmonix and the 5150 Overdrive by MXR in collaboration with EVH. So why would you want to go parallel instead of series? Well, if you guys haven't played these pedals, they're pretty. This is a pretty gainy pedal. This is, I mean, it does say overdrive, but it's really more of a distortion. And then of course you have a fuzz, which I like to run the gain pretty high on it, which is I guess the sustain. And if you run them in series, it's gonna be way too much saturation. You know, one boosting the front end of the other. So I figured, let me get the line selector to run them in parallel, and then we'll actually go to the BOSS website, and they'll explain the whole parallel thing. All right, so I'm using a screen recorder app on my phone. So I went to Google, I typed in BOSS LS-2, and we're gonna go, so this is so that you guys can follow and just do it yourself. So you can see I'm not making it up. We go to the BOSS website, and then we're gonna scroll down to Guides Articles, click that. Then we're gonna scroll to the 5 creative ways to use a line selector pedal for guitar. Click Read More, and then it's gonna give you 5 different, and so that we're going for the parallel thing, which is the first thing here. So let's go ahead and read it. So 1, effects mixing in parallel. One of the most popular and creative ways to use a line selector is to blend 2 effects in parallel to create new exciting sounds. By mixing the effects in parallel rather than in series, neither effect gets altered by the other. Instead, they both work independently. This approach can be beneficial for creating rich, dynamic, 3-dimensional sounds. One can use this function to create huge overdrive tones. For example, suppose a guitarist likes cutting treble-heavy attack of a 2-transistor fuzz pedal, but finds it lacks sufficient low end. The LS-2 could run a second overdrive with a bass-rich character alongside the other pedal. The player could then blend the EQ sections of the pedals to create a massive full-body tone. So that's exactly what we're going to do. You know, there it is. So in order to do that, we're going to use the A+B mix mode. So let's just move on from here. All right, so right here we have a pedal board I had wired up. So this is what's on top. This is what's under the riser, and then here are the drive section. So everything's in series from here, here. From here then goes to the line selector, and then here. And then I have these two in the line selector. So in loop A we have the 5150 overdrive, loop B we have the Op Amp Big Muff, and we have it set to the A+B mix bypass. So when it's off, when the pedal's off, it's in bypass, and when the pedal's on, it's in the A+B mix. Now, because this is under the riser, this is always on. And because of that, I have to make sure these are at unity gain. So for me, the way I have this set up, that's unity gain for me. I'm not sure why that's unity gain instead of like, noon. And I think it might be because of these two pedals. These two are running in the effects loop, and they're always on. I really like the way the Echoplex preamp kind of wakes up the amp. Just adds a little more sweetness. Just it's a really cool pedal. And then I have the EQ to just fine tune the sound there. See, as you can see, I'm cutting a little bit of 4K, a little bit of 250, and then a little bit of 125. And I bring the volume down just a little bit, so I'm at unity gain. And what I'm going to do, so yeah, I turn the pedals on and off from here, while this is always on, because I can't reach any of these pedals because this is there, So yeah, what I'm going to do, I'm going to first I'll demonstrate the clean sound. Then I'm gonna go to the big muff and then add the 5150 overdrive. Go back to the clean sound, hit the 5150 overdrive, like that, you can hear what that sounds like, and then add the big muff. So you can see how adding one to the other sounds like, all right? All right, so here we are, sound demo part. So I have the Echoplex preamp on, the 10 band EQ is always on, and of course the line selector is always on. There's your clean sound. I'm on the humbucker. So let's go. So I'm going to go fuzz and then add the overdrive, the 5150 overdrive, which is more of a distortion. So here we go. So I feel like it just rounds out the sound, just kind of like, you know, the big muff is like the low end, and then the 5150 overdrive adds the mid and top type of thing. I don't like the big muff to sound too high pitched. I like it to sound more low endy, so to speak. So now let's go 5150 overdrive and then add the big muff. Now from here to here, you don't really hear a whole lot of a difference going from 5150 overdrive and then adding the big muff. You really have to listen for it. But there's certain occasions where like you can really tell, like, oh, okay, yeah. So here we go. So the 5150 overdrive sounds fine on its own, but if you add the big muff, there's certain times when you can really hear like, wow, that it's like really adding some nice bottom end, so to speak, you know. And you don't always want that bottom end, but sometimes you do. And then again, this is the context of me just playing in the room. Like, there's no bass player, there's no drums. I'm just here playing for fun, you know. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Originally I was gonna have the pedals wired in series, you know, big muff into overdrive, into the 5150 overdrive. But then I'm like, well, what if I accidentally engage one of them while the other one's on? It's gonna be way too saturated. And it's not a sound I really like go for. So I figured, let me just keep them in parallel, just out of that principle. But then I ended up really liking the parallel sound. So it's kind of like a go-to whenever I'm using these pedals, you know. I mean, I do like using them on their own, but when you turn them both on, like, there's a little secret sauce happening there, you know. So yeah, there it is. 5150 overdrive and op amp Big Muff in parallel using the Line Selector LS2. And again, it's on the A plus B mix mode. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe.